94.5 WPTI, 96.7 WTOB. And you're tuned in to the Wealth Guardians radio show with Doug Ray, helping you to retire that job and keep the paycheck. Good morning, Brice. How you doing?
Good morning, Doug. I'm doing well. How are you?
I can't complain.
Excellent.
It's springtime.
It's spring, man. It's getting here. It's getting here. I'm liking it. Very good. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining into the Wealth Guardians radio show this weekend morning. Glad you could take a few minutes out of your day and spend it with us. In this episode today, both the first and second segments, we're going to be talking about good money habits and how they might be holding you back. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Doug, let's go ahead and do two things here. Why don't you lead us off with the Wealth Guardian Service salute to start things off?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Thank you to our veterans, our service members, our first responders. Just can't thank you and your families enough for the sacrifices you make for all of us.
Indeed. Every day, day in and day out, we do appreciate you here at the Wealth Guardian, so thank you for that. And Doug, as we started doing here in 2024, we're asking ourselves a question, and we'll go ahead and pose that question to everybody out there as well. This is helping you get to know your Wealth Guardian's financial planner a little bit better. So Doug, here is the question I'm throwing out to you, and then we'll throw it to me as well. In what Olympic sport would you have the best chance of winning a medal?
You should ask me that question 40 years ago. Right now, maybe a 12-ounce curl.
you could go out there with the best of them on that one. Huh? All right. So back in the day, then, what would it have been?
Oh my gosh, I guess weightlifting.
Okay, really?
Yeah, I was pretty big into weightlifting.
Deadlifting?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, so if we're asking me that question, and Brice, in what Olympic sport would you have the best chance of winning a medal? You know what sport I actually lettered in high school?
What?
Sharpshooting.
Really?
Yes, because I went to a military academy. So I went to Wentworth Military Academy out in Missouri, and I wasn't a particularly large guy. I was fast. I probably could have done back in the day. I could have lettered in sprinting as well, but I was lanky, but I was fast. But what I actually ended up lettering in was sharpshooting. So I think that is an Olympic sport, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah.
All right. I mean, you do it when you cross country ski, but I used to do that as well. But anyway, I think that's what I would have the best chance of lettering in would be that. So there you go. A deadlifter and a sharpshooter. All right, and that's
12-ounce curl.
The 12-ounce curlers. Okay, very good. Well, let's go ahead and get into this topic, Doug. In this episode, it's going to be a bit counterintuitive, I think, the subject of it, but we're going to question the real impact of common financial habits, and are the strategies you consider beneficial actually perhaps working not in your favor. So we explore the pros and cons of practices like ignoring account statements and strict budgeting. So I want you to join us for a practical discussion as we uncover the unexpected effects of everyday money decisions. Are your good money habits holding you back? So let's talk about the first one here, Doug. Ignoring account statements. Sounds like my wife, but what would actually be, it sounds like that would be bad, right?
Well, yeah.
But what would be the good of that?
I'll never forget back in the 2008-9 time frame, prospective clients would come in and see me, and they said, I don't even look at my statement anymore. I just throw it in the trash can.
That's right.
Yeah, but if you do that, I mean, you're going to miss some things like you might need to make a change here or there. There could be, especially a bank statement. I mean, maybe there's some fraud going on. You got to take a look at stuff like that.
That's right.
So, yeah, don't ignore them. We got clients right now who don't even go on their computer and sign in and look at their accounts, and they should be doing that.
They should
on a routine basis.
That's right. So that's the obvious. That's what would be bad about that. But what could possibly be the good about not paying too much attention to your statements?
I guess when it comes to volatility in the market, you don't have to watch your account go up and down like a yo-yo.
Okay, because people could tend to overreact to that.
Sure.
I mean, we see that all the time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's ignoring account statements. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray. I'm Brice Payne in the studio with Doug this morning, and we're talking about, are your good money habits holding you back? So the first one we talked about there was ignoring account statements, the good and bad of that. Let's dip into the next one here, Doug. Keeping a strict budget.
Yeah, the good part of that is you stay on track. You know where your money's going. You know how much you can save, how much you spend for groceries, what your real estate taxes are, all that stuff. Keeping track.
Okay.
Of everything.
Yeah, that's important because even when you're not retired, people tend to forget this, but when you're not retired, you don't have to necessarily live on a budget because most people have extra income coming in that they could spend if they wanted to. But when you retire, things change.
Yeah.
Now, for most people, they're on a fixed income in retirement. And if you have already taught yourself how to live on a budget and adhering to it, moving into retirement is not as a shock to the system, so to speak.
Exactly. And I will tell you this too, and you know this, most people when they come into us, we ask them what they spend per month, because that's an important number. I mean, that's what you build the whole retirement plan around. Most people don't know. I mean, they guess. But some people, a handful maybe, have a very good knowledge of what they spend every month.
And those tend to be the engineers.
Yeah, sure do.
The numbers people. Right, absolutely. So let me spell out what Doug's talking about there. When somebody comes in and sits down with Doug, Garrett, or myself, or any financial planner for that matter, the financial planner is trying to collect a bunch of data on you. Yes, they want to know who you are. They want to know what makes you tick, what scares you, what you plan on doing in retirement, what you want retirement to look like, etc. How large is your family? What are your goals? What are your future goals in retirement? But we're data analysts, and we're collecting numbers. And Doug, it's very common for somebody to know how much they make. We want to know how much income we've got. So we know that number. Most people have a good idea of how much they make. People have a pretty good idea of how much assets they're sitting on, how much their house is worth, how much their 401k is worth, how much is in their IRA, their Roth, their brokerage accounts, their bank accounts. They know those numbers. Where do we tend to put on blinders and not want to know? How much are we spending? Mm-hmm. That's a painful number for us to know. We don't want to admit to ourselves, I spend this much of money. But you can't solve a financial or a mathematical problem with only knowing two of the key factors. Right. We can't help you figure out if you can retire in 2 years or if you have to work 5 more years or how much you can spend in retirement if we don't know how much you need to spend in retirement. So that is an important number, and we have to help you figure that out. If you want to sit down with a financial planner, somebody who knows how to put all these numbers together and, like I said, be able to tell you when you can retire or what retirement might look like for you, or if you can retire tomorrow or you got to work 5 more years or you're going to have to trim your budget by X amount of dollars down in retirement, or if you can actually spend this much money on a second house at some point in retirement, a financial planner can help you do that. We at the Wealth Guardians can help you do that, but you got to call us and sit down with us. So let me tell you how to do that. You're going to pick up the phone and you're going to give us a call, 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409. You can also reach out to us at our website, thewealthguardians.com, and you can schedule a time to sit down with Doug, Garrett, and myself. Doug, how much does it cost for somebody to come in and go through our 4-meeting planning process with us?
Nothing. Nada.
Other than their time and their gas.
That's it.
To get to our offices, it doesn't cost you anything. A lot of financial planners will charge you quite a bit of money to sit down with them for their time, but we don't charge you anything for that. And so again, 336-391-3409. Doug, I can tell you, you and I get this comment all the time when somebody has gone through that 4-meeting process with us. They say, hey, this was really eye-opening. Mm-hmm. This was very thorough. I now have a much better sense of what retirement looks like for me. Thank you, Wealth Guardians. Most of them do end up becoming clients because they get a sense of how invaluable it is to have a financial planner on their side going through retirement with them. So that's what we do here at the Wealth Guardians, and we're happy to help you out and see how we can help you plan for your retirement as well. All right, let's move on to the next one here, Doug. Good money habits, and are they holding you back? Investing in familiar stocks. There can be a good and there can be a bad to this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good part of that is the companies. You probably shop there or do business with them. I mean, and this is not by no way a recommendation by me for you to go out and buy it, but I own in my portfolio Philip Morris, nice dividend-paying stock. Advance Auto Parts, I bought it. It had a major correction last year. But all of those companies, are blue-chip companies and will hold the test of time.
Yeah.
The bad part of that is getting overbalanced or overweighted in one particular company or two. And I can think of several folks who've come to see us in the past that have a ton of Apple or
yes,
any other stock for that matter.
Yes.
And that can be dangerous.
It sure can. Yeah, it's because you're putting all of your chips in one basket there. If that, you're not necessarily taking market risk with that, but you're taking company risk. And if something happens to that one particular company, say it's Boeing and a door flies off an airplane, that's going to have a huge impact on that one stock. Even though the market might be great, that one company could tank. And if you, particularly, Doug, if it's a company that you work for, because now you're putting your paycheck stock in that company, but now you're also putting your investment stock in that same company.
Yeah, exactly.
And we see that happen a lot where people are proud of their company and they invest in that company and they're also getting their paycheck. And if something happens to that company, they could be out of luck in two different areas. All right, well, we're going to continue with this subject on the other side of this break. Are your good money habits holding you back? So I want you to stick around. And of course, as we always do as we go into the break, it's trivia time. Doug, are you ready?
No.
Here we go. On March 14th, 1879, Albert Einstein was born. And to celebrate his birthday, we honor him with this trivia question. Doug, Einstein came up with the theory of relativity, which postulates that time and space are not absolute, that there is not a single correct answer to everything. This theory goes in complete contrast to what other concept?
Interesting. My wife and I watched Oppenheimer this weekend.
Oh, okay. So you maybe you know this then. All right. Well, stick around for the answer to that trivia question and see if we stumped Doug on the other side of this short break. This is Brice Payne. With me is Doug Ray, and the show is The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM WTOB. News Talk 94.5 WPTI. 96.7 FM, WTOB. You're listening to The Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne along with Doug Ray this week, and in the second segment, we're going to continue our conversation on are your good money habits holding you back? Now, before we get to our trivia question, I've got two questions for you. Same two questions I ask every week. Are you A, looking forward to your retirement? And do you B, want to make sure you're making the best financial decisions for your retirement? So, pretty confident you answered yes to both of those questions, then I've got great news for you. We here at the Wealth Guardians offer a no-cost, no-obligation second opinion/review of your retirement plan. This includes a deep analysis of your assets, your investment portfolio, insurance policies, income needs, risk tolerance, risk exposure, tax mitigation strategies, legacy goals, and even the fees you're currently paying. Here's our goal. We want to help you lower your fees, and we want to help you align your risk and improve your overall retirement picture so you can indeed retire the job and keep the paycheck. But the ball's in your court. So you got to give us a call. So here's how you do that. You pick up the phone and dial 336-391-3409. 336-391-3409. Give us a call or visit us at our website, thewealthguardians.com, to set up your free financial plan review with Doug, Garrett, and myself today. I want to remind you, the markets aren't going to wait for you. All right. So having said all that, let's see what Doug has to say about the trivia question. Doug, on March 14th, 1879, Albert Einstein was born, and to celebrate his birthday, we honor him with this trivia question. Einstein came up with the theory of relativity, which postulates that time and space are not absolute, that there is not a single correct answer to everything. This theory goes in complete contrast to what other concept or theorem in physics?
Even though I saw Oppenheimer this past weekend and Einstein was in the movie, I got no clue.
No clue.
No clue.
All right. Well, this theory goes in stark contrast to quantum theory.
Okay.
Quantum theory and quantum
Brice,
mechanics.
I was a business major.
Okay. I was actually doing that question thinking I was going to be doing the show with Garrett this morning.
Okay, the engineer.
I asked him this question, and he actually knew the answer to it. So
of course he did.
It is quantum theory, and I thought, I get the idea of what the theory of relativity is, that everything is relative to everything else. I get that, but I thought, I don't really know, not being an engineer myself, what quantum theory is. So let me look up what quantum theory is. And Doug, after reading about quantum common theory? I still have absolutely no idea
what it is.
This is what it says. This is what the branch of mechanics that deals with the mathematical description of the motion and interaction of subatomic particles, incorporating concepts of quantization of energy, wave-particle duality, the uncertainty principle, and the correspondence principle.
Wow.
Still have no idea what at all what quantum mechanics or quantum theory is about. So I'll leave that to the Einsteins of the world out there. All right. Well, Einstein, happy birthday to you. We here at the Wealth Guardian salute you as well. All right, Doug, let's continue on our conversation here. Are your good money habits holding you back? So we talked in the first one about ignoring account statements, keeping a strict budget, and investing in familiar stocks. Let's move on now to some more, and let's talk about patience getting into the stock market. There can be some good and some bad to this.
You know, human beings always seem to make, when it comes to the stock market, the worst decisions on buying and selling.
Yes, they do. I'm in that boat.
You know, it's euphoria, it's greed, it's FOMO, fear of missing out.
Fear and greed.
Yeah, and you know, when you really want to be patient and buy into the market is when everybody else is selling.
That's right.
You know, Sir John Templeton said, "I buy when there's blood in the street."
That's right.
And you know, I'm going to go off tangent here a little bit. Anything in the last, since October, to do with artificial intelligence has been on fire.
That's right.
And every company out there is trying to promote how they use AI. Here's my example. My wife and I, after Christmas, went out to Scottsdale.
Okay.
We like to play golf.
Yeah.
I don't like to take my clubs, so I rent them. So the first round we played, I rented clubs, and I think they were a regular flex, maybe even a senior flex, and I hit the ball great. The next round was clubs that were stiff flex. Well, I quickly found out I can't hit a stiff flex anymore.
Is that right?
I can't. So my clubs I've got are stiff flex.
Oh.
So I bought myself a new clubs. I'm a Callaway fan.
Okay.
Callaway's advertising these clubs are designed with AI in them, you know? Yeah, exactly.
I just rolled my eyes if you can't tell that.
So, anyway, point in fact is this. Be patient when you're trying to get into the market.
Absolutely.
You know, buy when everybody else is running away.
You know what always cracks me up, Doug, is when I listen to the radio, those times that I do, and I hear them advertising, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold, because they're the ones selling the gold.
Yeah.
I know that that's the time for me to sell my gold and not buy it. So I do the exact opposite of what I hear them advertising on the radio when it comes to gold.
And that's usually a good philosophy.
Okay.
Do the opposite of the street.
Do the opposite of what you hear them trying to sell you. Yeah. If you're trying to sell it to me and you're holding on to it, then I probably want to sell it myself. All right. Very good. So that's a patient getting into the stock market. There's good and bads to that, but you know, just like there is in everything, right, Doug?
Exactly.
All right, so let's move on to the next one now, and this is paying off debt early. We get this question a lot.
Don't we?
And it's usually about a mortgage.
It is, absolutely.
Should I pay my mortgage off early? Common question that we financial planners here at the Wealth Guardians get. Somebody sits down with us. We're talking over about their retirement plans and when can they retire? How much can they spend in retirement? And one of the questions that they want to know is, hey, I've got a mortgage that's set to be paid off in 10 years. Should I pay it off early? Yeah. And of course, our answer is it depends.
It depends. You know, the thing is, most people, when they go into retirement, they don't want to have a mortgage payment. They feel comfortable having that house paid for. And that makes perfect sense. The flip side of that coin is this. If you're one of those lucky ones who refinanced when rates were between 2 and 3%, I mean, that's like free money almost, especially if you can go out and buy a CD at 5% or better.
Right.
So why pay your mortgage off? Invest and save the difference.
That's exactly right.
Eventually you'll pay it off.
That's right.
But on the other hand, we tell people, look, if it makes you sleep better at night, then go ahead and pay your mortgage off.
That's my common refrain, is there's something you can't quantify about feeling good by being debt-free.
Right.
And there's a price that you can't put on that. And if that's important to you and that's going to help you sleep better, then maybe it is worth the investment. Even if it means that your nest egg might be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 lesser, by age 80 or 90, maybe that's worth it to you to have been debt-free a little bit longer. So that's paying off debt early. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show with Doug Ray. I'm Brice Payne, along with Doug Ray in the studio here this morning, and we're talking about good and bad money habits. And we talked about paying off debt early there. Let's talk about the next one, Doug. Staying informed by watching and reading financial news. There can be a good to this, and there can be a bad to this.
Yeah, it's always good to stay informed and watch what's going on in the world. But I guess, some people may just get too involved in the talking heads, I'll say.
Right.
Some of that stuff you just got to take with a grain of salt.
Right.
Some of it is just outright garbage.
Nonsense.
Yep. So some of it's good stuff. The problem is, if you're not in the business like we are, you don't know how to define one of the or both.
It's hard. It can be hard. Yeah. There is a lot of money to be made out there, Doug, on scaring people and outraging people. People want to tune, for whatever reason, we want to tune in to understand, what should I be scared of? What should I be upset about? And there is no shortage in advertiser dollars going to people who are trying to scare you and outrage you. And you have to take what you're listening to. You have to look at it through a logical point of view.
100%.
All right.
I'll never forget, back in, it was 2007-ish, on CNBC, Jim Cramer was interviewing the CEO of Wachovia, and they were just saying, how great Wachovia was. The next weekend, Wachovia went down.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
Yeah, so it happens out there. All right, let's talk about the last one here, Doug. Consistently building emergency funds.
Yeah. There
can be a pro and a con to that.
Well, it's hard to say there's a con, but I guess if you overbuild your emergency funds, our rule of thumb is, have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency fund. And an emergency fund is obviously something at a bank you can go and get right away, either use your ATM card or whatever. Because you never know when something's going to happen and you need ready cash.
That's right. But you have to, as you said, that's conventional wisdom, is having about 3 to 6 months. We do see people who just have a lot more than that in their bank because they're scared of what to do with it.
Yeah.
And I get that, but boy, you think, a lot of people think, hey, but I'm not taking any risk here. I'm not, it's safe in the bank. Well, that part is true, but you are taking a risk. There are different types of risks out there. Market risk is not the only type of risk out there. Inflation risk is another one. And if you've got too much money sitting in the bank, it's losing buying power every day that's in there, because almost 100% of the time, the rates that the banks pay are not outpacing inflation. Very rarely does that happen. So every day that your money, you've got too much of it sitting in the bank, you're losing buying power with that money. It's great to have it safe. It's great to have it at your immediate disposal should you need it, should something unforeseen happen. But you have to be smart with it. And Doug, there's a lot of people out there that have too much of it sitting in the bank, and that can work against you. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, you know what, Doug? That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Wealth Guardians radio show this week.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We hope the rest of your weekend is everything you want it to be. This is Brice Payne along with Doug Ray. The show's The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And I want to remind you, sound financial plans do not create themselves. This is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. This is 96.7 FM WTOB.